Hello students. I am Gyan from English Magus. Welcome to today's lesson, Chapter 3 Journey to the End of the Earth from book Vistas, where we'll explore new concepts and ideas together. Let's embark on this learning journey with curiosity and an open mind. Before we dive into the heart of today's lesson, let's take a moment to know about its author briefly. Tishani Doshi, born in 1975, is an acclaimed Indian poet, novelist, and dancer. She has published several poetry collections and novels, blending themes of identity, heritage, and feminism. Doshi is also a trained Bharatanatyam dancer, enriching her literary work with deep cultural resonance and artistic expression. Before we begin the chapter, let's have an overview of it. In A Journey to the End of the Earth, Tishani Doshi recounts her expedition to Antarctica, exploring its pristine landscape and environmental significance. She reflects on the impact of climate change, emphasizing the fragility of the planet and the urgent need for conservation efforts to preserve this unique ecosystem. Now, the paragraph-wise explanation starts. I would recommend you to pause the video at each new slide and read the text before listening to the explanation. The chapter begins with the narrator telling the readers if they're curious about the history, current state, and what might happen in the future on our planet, there's a specific place they should explore. The place she is mentioning is Antarctica. The icy continent at the southernmost tip of the Earth holds valuable information about our planet's past climate, geological changes, and scientific research. It's like a treasure trove of knowledge waiting to be discovered. The author is sharing with the readers her experiences about her journey to Antarctica. The journey started at a specific latitude, 13.09 degrees north of the equator, in Madras, now known as Chennai, India. During the journey, she passed through 9 different time zones, went through 6 checkpoints, crossed 3 bodies of water, Commonwealth Bay, South Pacific, Russian Far East. It was quite an adventurous and diverse trip. After traveling for more than 100 hours by car, plane, and ship, she finally arrived in Antarctica. She felt relief to be there, and was amazed by the huge, empty white land and endless blue sky. It's incredible to think that India and Antarctica were once connected as one big land. In this part we are going to read the history of Antarctica. Long ago, there was a big land called Gondwana, where Antarctica is now. Back then, there were no people, and it was warm with many plants and animals. Gondwana lasted a long time, but when the dinosaurs died, this land split into different countries, making the world look like it does today. Here the author tells us visiting Antarctica lets you experience Earth's long history. It helps you learn about ancient mountain formations, old rocks, and how air and life have changed over time. Let me here explain cordilleran folds. These are large, extensive chains or networks of mountain ranges created by the folding of the Earth's crust. The term cordillera comes from Spanish, meaning rope, and is often used to describe the mountain systems in the Americas, like the Andes. These mountain systems are formed through tectonic activities such as folding, faulting, and volcanic activity. Thinking about Earth's million-year history, with all its changes and lost species, is truly astonishing. Precambrian granite shields are crystalline igneous and high-grade metamorphic rocks. These rocks are very old, often more than 570 million years, and can date back to around 2 to 3.5 billion years. These shields form tectonically stable areas and are found on all continents. Here the author is telling us how after the breakup of Gondwana, India moved north and hit Asia, creating the Himalayas. South America moved closer to North America, making a gap called the Drake Passage. This gap lets cold water flow around Antarctica, keeping it very cold and remote. Here the speaker is sharing her personal experience with the readers. She tells us since she is from South India, which is quite warm, she found acclimatizing at Antarctica to be quite hard. She was about to spend 2 weeks in a place with lots of ice, which was quite different from what she was used to. It was going to be very cold, affecting her body functions. It was also mentally challenging because it's so different. Imagine being in a vast, empty space like a giant ping-pong ball with no signs of human presence, no trees, signs, or buildings. It's so different that you can't even tell what time it is or where you are. In these lines Tishani Doshi tells us in Antarctica, you see everything from tiny creatures like midges and mites to massive ones like blue whales and icebergs as large as entire countries. The biggest recorded iceberg was as big as Belgium. During the austral summer, means, when it's summer in the southern hemisphere, the days are incredibly long, 24 hours of continuous daylight. It feels surreal because it's so different from what we are used to. The word surreal refers to something that is very strange or unusual. It feels more like a dream than reality. It's often used to describe situations, images, or experiences that are bizarre or fantastical, almost like something out of a dream or imagination. Antarctica is uniquely quiet. There's almost no sound except for rare events like avalanches, when snow and ice slide down a mountain, or ice sheets breaking off into the ocean. This silence makes the place feel sacred or special. Being in Antarctica makes you think about Earth's ancient past and how it has changed over millions of years. You feel connected to the planet's geological story. Unfortunately, the future doesn't look good for humans in terms of climate change and its impact on Antarctica. The melting ice and rising sea levels pose significant challenges. In these lines, Tishani is going to shed some light on the impact of reckless human activities on the world environment. She explains humans have been around for just 12,000 years, a tiny moment in Earth's history. In this time, we have built many settlements and cities. Our growing numbers mean we are competing with wildlife for space and resources. Also, by burning lots of fossil fuels, we've added so much carbon dioxide to the air that it's making the whole planet warmer. Here, the author tells us climate change is a big environmental issue. People wonder if the West Antarctic ice will melt completely or if the Gulf Stream will stop flowing. These could change our world a lot. Antarctica is important in this discussion because it's mostly untouched by humans, which makes it a key place to study these changes. In these lines she further explains how Antarctica is important. Antarctica's ice holds ancient carbon records, showing Earth's climate history. It's key for studying our planet's changes. The Students on Ice program takes students on trips to Antarctica to learn about our world and encourages them to care for it. Here the author tells us about the program under which she was selected to go to Antarctica. At that time the program had been running for 6 years. Jeff Green had started it, wanting to inspire young people, not just rich tourists. This program takes young students to the polar regions, giving them a powerful experience that teaches them and prepares them to make important decisions for our planet's future. In these lines the author tells us more about the Students on Ice program. The program's success comes from the profound impact of visiting the South Pole. It's one thing to hear about melting ice caps from afar, but seeing the glaciers shrink and ice shelves fall apart in person makes you truly understand the reality and urgency of global warming. It's a powerful experience that changes perspectives and inspires action. Here the author tells the readers Antarctica is great for studying environmental changes because it's simple and not too diverse. Tiny plants in the ocean, called phytoplankton, are super important. They use sunlight to turn carbon into food through photosynthesis, supporting all sea life there. She further tells us scientists say if the ozone layer gets thinner, it will harm tiny ocean plants called phytoplankton. This would then affect all sea creatures and birds, and even the balance of carbon on Earth. The lesson for all of us to learn here is, if we look after the small parts of nature, the bigger parts will also be healthy. In these lines the author is sharing with the readers a unique experience she had at Antarctica. Their ship got stuck in ice and couldn't go on. So, they turned back. But first, they all got to walk on the frozen ocean. It was an unforgettable moment that made her see the world differently. The speaker and a group of 52 people were dressed in special gear, Gore-Tex and sunglasses. They got an opportunity to walk on Tadpole Island. The ice they walked on was 1 meter thick. Beneath that ice was 180 meters of ocean water. The speaker noticed crab-eater seals on ice floes. These seals were relaxing, similar to how stray dogs rest under a banyan tree in her city. This experience made the speaker realize that everything in nature is interconnected. In the last lines of the chapter, the author tells us about the deep impact her visit to Antarctica had on her. The speaker traveled back to India through different time zones, checkpoints, and ecosystems. After reaching home, she thought about how Earth's delicate balance works. She wondered what would happen if Antarctica became warm again. She was concerned as to whether humans will survive or face extinction like other ancient creatures. Even small changes can have a big impact. She feels the youngsters who have the idealism to do good hold the promise of a brighter and safer future for the coming generations. That's it. The chapter is over. Kindly don't forget to like, comment and subscribe if you found the chapter helpful. Thanks for watching.